Just over 3 months ago, Motorola and Verizon released their latest trio of Droid devices, and one of those was the Motorola Droid Ultra. This thing packs a 1.7 gigahertz dual-core CPU, a 10 megapixel camera, and Android 4.2, and it packs it all in a pretty nice little form factor. But the question is, as it always is in the smartphone space, is it worth buying 3 months later when you've got devices like the Galaxy Note 3, the HTC One Max, the HTC One, the LG G2, and more? I'm Aaron Baker from PhoneDog.com, and that is exactly what we're going to find out in the 3 month later video of the Motorola Droid Ultra. 3 months ago, the Motorola Droid Ultra came out as one of a trio of devices: the Motorola Droid Mini, the Motorola Droid Ultra, and the Motorola Droid Max. Now, 3 months later, is this thing the device to get? Well, that's a good question. There's a lot of devices to like on Verizon Wireless, and this is one of many Android devices you can pick up at the carrier right now. But the question is it worth it 3 months later, or have other devices eclipsed it and surpassed it in so many ways that this isn't a contender at all in the marketplace? Well, let's take a look and find out. First of all, 3 months later, this thing is still a fantastically built device all around. It's very svelte, very light, and though it is the middle tier, so to speak, between the three Droid devices, it's got a lot to like. It's got a 1.7 gigahertz dual-core CPU with Motorola's X8 architecture. You're rocking a 5-inch display, and yes, while it's 720 pixels and 294 ppi, there's still a lot to like, and the size presents a nice balance for portability, but for content creation as well. So it's not too big, not too small on that front. Then you're packing 2 gigabytes of RAM, 16 gigabytes of built-in storage. A potential downspot here, 16 gigabytes of storage, no expandable memory capabilities here. Once you hit 16, unless you're doing cloud storage, you are out of luck on this device. It's also packing a 2,130 milliamp hour battery, and Android 4.2 Jelly Bean, with some slight Motorola customizations that closely resemble the Moto X, but for the most part a pretty clean version of Android. So this appeals to a couple of different people I can see right out of the gate. People on Verizon that want a Droid experience. Once known as kind of the flagship brand of Verizon, it has taken a back seat in recent months to flagship devices like the Galaxy S4, the HTC One, the Galaxy Note 3, the LG G2. It's no longer what it was when the original Motorola Droid came out, but still there's a lot to like in this lineup, and Motorola's done a great job all around with the latest Droid devices. The design, like I was saying, is very nice. Power button over here, volume rocker, and you got, of course, all your stuff up top, your 3.5 millimeter headphone jack up top, and then your micro USB charging port at the bottom. Very easy to hold in the hand. I will say after a couple of months, you'll immediately probably notice this after a couple of hours of using this device, incredibly fingerprint sensor, or I should say incredibly a fingerprint magnet on the back. So definitely issues there. If you're somebody that doesn't like that glossy look and feel, this may not be the device for you, but it just fits well in the hand, and that's something I like about this unit. In terms of value adds in the software, you don't get something that you would get, let's say, with HTC Sense version 5 or 5.5, depending on what version you're running on your HTC One or perhaps TouchWiz, but you do get some nice little value adds. Motorola's Assist application is on board, and it brings, like I've said extensively in the Moto X video review and subsequent videos, driving, meeting, and sleeping mode. You've got driving mode, which, true as it sounds, you've got talk to me, and of course the ability to do a couple of different options here. Turn that on and you can read text messages. It can tell you who's calling and more. And then you've got meeting, which when you have a meeting on your calendar, for example, it can automatically silence the device, making it a great unit. If you forget to silence, you walk into that 11 o'clock meeting and somebody calls you. And then sleeping as well, very similar to do not disturb on other devices. You can set a time, and between those times you can silence the phone, with exception of perhaps when favorites call, family members, loved ones, wife, husband, whatever the case may be, or when someone calls twice. Now there's another great feature, and that is OK Google Now, which when you hit that, it brings up the OK Google Now prompt, and you can say either help me, you can send text messages, you can check the weather, and utilize the power of Google Now on this device. So two very subtle application features here, two very subtle features built within this device, but two features that a lot of people are going to find very useful. I'll tell you, first of all, I use Assist when I'm working with Motorola's devices on a pretty regular basis. I do not use the OK Google Now feature as much as I thought I would when I first saw it in pictures and in videos. So it depends on your personal use. I don't use that on a regular basis. The camera is another area here, 10 megapixel camera. It's certainly not the best camera on the market by any means, but a lot of people like the simplistic look and feel here. I've got easy access just to snap by pointing and touching the device. Then of course I've got the ability to switch to video camera and my front-facing camera as well. And then within the picture itself, you can see I can do some basic editing options here, including changing the color look here, bleach, instant latte, etc. I can add a border, I can crop it, and more. So some options in the camera itself, but some people are lamenting about how simple it is, rather, in comparison to perhaps Zoe on the HTC One or some of the nice things that you get on Samsung's Galaxy devices in the software. So again, it depends on what's most important to you. I think a lot of people are drawn to the fact that this is running a near stock version of Android. It's got 4G LTE capabilities. The battery life, while it is smaller than the Motorola Droid Max, still pretty capable of getting through the day. With light to moderate use, I can make it about 13 hours on this device. With moderate to heavy, I do struggle a little bit more to make it through a day. I would recommend, if you're a battery hog, get the Motorola Droid Max. If you like this look and feel, you want a device like this, but you want something with a slightly larger battery, take a look at that one. Overall though, design pretty impressive on this device, and even 3 months later, it's a force to be reckoned with, but it depends, like everything else in this space, on what's most important to you. Take that top 5 list, figure out what's most important to you, and go in with the knowledge that you can probably find a device, Android, iOS, Windows Phone 8, whatever the case may be, that works best for you. Keep it locked on PhoneDog.com. For more, I'm on Twitter at PhoneDog_Aaron. I'm on Facebook at Facebook.com/HiAaronBaker. Let me know if you picked up this device or any of the Droid devices, the newest Droid devices, I should say, and if you still like them several months after they're released. Do you love them? Are you gunning for something else? Has something else tickled your fancy or caught your eye? I'd love to hear from you on Twitter at PhoneDog_Aaron. Thanks for watching. More to come on the Motorola Droid Ultra on PhoneDog.com. And as always, I'll see you next time.